Hi, I'm Christopher Arlo at Milestone Systems. In this video I'll show you how to connect IP or network cameras to Xprotect Go. But first let's quickly go over the basic differences between analog and IP when it comes to cameras and networks. If you have a look on the internet, you'll quickly realize there's a vast range of IP cameras available, all with different prices, form factors and features. Some are specially optimized for night vision, others for thermal vision and so on, but basically speaking there are three main categories. There are fixed cameras, like this one here, which have a fixed viewing direction. Some of these may have optical zoom capabilities. There are PTZ or pan tilt zoom cameras that let you move the camera around remotely. These are ideal for patrolling purposes. And lastly, there are 360-degree cameras, which offer multi-view possibilities and digital PTZ capabilities. But common for all these IP cameras is that typically they provide a much better image quality than corresponding traditional analog cameras. These days, analog cameras usually support a resolution of what's known as 2CIF or 4CIF, while the older versions only support single or CIF. IP cameras, on the other hand, have been offering megapixel resolution for several years, and HD is now becoming the norm among many manufacturers. So how do these different resolutions match up? Let's take a look. As you can see, low resolution cameras mean you miss out on a lot of detail, which isn't much use if you need to identify a face or a number plate. The other factor is using megapixel or HD cameras lets you actually reduce the number of cameras needed, as each camera can effectively cover a wider area. Another important advantage of using IP cameras over analog cameras is the low cost of installation. In an analog installation, you will need several physical cables for camera signal, power, speakers, microphones, and other security devices. In an IP solution, you only need one. This is because many IP cameras today can get their power via the network connection using power over internet, or PoE. Other devices like audio equipment, sensors and detectors are simply connected via the camera's connection. You can even take it one step further and use wireless cameras, so then you just have to provide the power. The challenge with IP video solutions is that the cameras need to be compatible with the software that is used to control them. There are many IP solutions on the market that only support a limited set of cameras, which obviously restricts your options. Milestone, on the other hand, offers a truly open IP video management software platform, so you don't have to worry about compatibility problems. Like all our software, Xprotect Go lets you connect to a huge variety of cameras. Right now, Milestone supports more than 900 different IP cameras, encoders and DVRs from over 80 different manufacturers. What's more, Milestone also supports the ONVIF and PSIA standards, which guarantees your freedom of choice. If you want to make sure Xprotect Go supports the cameras you have or the ones you're planning to buy, you can always view a full list on our website. In case you're still wondering what IP or network video is all about, let me give you a quick overview. IP or network video means the video is transmitted over an IP data network instead of a dedicated video network like the coax cables in a traditional analog system. Here's a diagram of what I'm talking about. In the upper part you can see a simple traditional analog network with a couple of cameras, a recorder and a dedicated network of coax cables connecting the cameras to the recorder. Underneath is a corresponding IP video solution. The main difference is that the dedicated coax network is replaced by a general purpose IP network. IP addresses are used to manage the communication in the data network, and this means each device connected to the network has its own unique IP address. The specific network addresses will of course depend on the actual network implementation and vary from network to network. Viewed in real physical terms, the small network we saw on the diagram has these components. In the middle here is the network switch. Switches come in many different sizes, but they all perform the same task, shifting data packages from one IP address to another. To the left here we have the two IP cameras, each connected to the switch with a network cable. And on the other side we have the recorder, which in this case is a PC running Xprotect Go. And that's it. You don't need anything more. You may want to use more cameras or longer cables, extra storage and so on, but the basic components are the same. Okay, now let's take a look at how you could actually connect these cameras to Xprotect Go. Before you can start connecting the IP cameras to the Xprotect software, you need to make sure that different components are connected on the network. It is important you have the right IP address settings and assign unique IP addresses to each of the cameras that you want to connect. If the network isn't configured correctly, Xprotect Go won't be able to communicate with the cameras. So you may need to change the default IP address on the camera so you can connect it to your network. To do this, simply follow the instructions provided by the manufacturer. Most IP cameras also have built-in configuration options, which normally include things like setting up access rights to the camera, or light sensitivity settings, or flipping the image, and so on. Again, follow the instructions provided by the manufacturer. By the way, once the cameras are connected to Xprotect Go, you can access all these settings directly via the management application. But I'll show you how to do that in another video covering advanced configuration. Okay, I'm now going to assume that the physical network and the network configuration is all in place, so let's move on and connect the cameras to Xprotect Go. You do this using the management application. So let's start the application. If you have seen the video about how to connect USB cameras to Xprotect Go, you will see that we use the same procedure to connect IP cameras. So, this is the management application. The easiest way to add an IP camera to Xprotect Go is to use the Add Hardware Devices wizard that you can see here on the main screen of the management application. The Add Hardware Devices wizard offers a number of different ways to detect devices that can connect to the system, and the fastest is the default Express option. Once the scanning is completed and all devices have been detected by the system, you can decide which devices you actually want to enable in the system and assign names to these. Xprotect Go uses the manufacturer's default username and password credentials to access the cameras, but if you have other settings you need to provide this information to get the camera verified and accepted by the system. There's an automatic name generation function that lets you quickly assign names to the cameras that make sense for your users. Here we want to use a naming convention that lets us define a custom text followed by the IP address of the device, device number, and a sequence number. You can also name your devices manually on an individual basis. So, now your IP cameras are connected and you can complete the wizard by clicking Finish. After that, you can close the management application, and when you do that, you'll be prompted to save your changes. And that's all it takes to add IP cameras to Xprotect Go. There are a lot of other camera configuration options involving motion detection and so on, but I'll cover these in a separate video. Now let's verify the cameras are available in the Smart Client. Like the management application, you can launch the Xprotect Smart Client from the Windows Start menu or by double-clicking the shortcut on your desktop. A login dialog box will appear, and by default you'll see the following settings. The server address is localhost because the software is running on this PC. You're using basic authentication, which simply means the user is only registered in Xprotect Go. The default username is admin, and so is the password. If you have used the Xprotect software before and defined another username or password, you should of course use these. Now click Connect. A screen will appear containing a variety of useful information about Xprotect software, and when you're ready just click OK and you'll see the Smart Client. If this is the first time you open the Smart Client, the newly added IP cameras will be available in a default view created by the system, as you can see here. However, if you've already used the Smart Client together with, for example, USB cameras, you need to manually add the new IP cameras to a view in the Setup tab. If you want more information on the Smart Client, there's a good video about it on our website. So that's how easy it is to connect IP cameras to Xprotect Go. If you have any questions about which IP camera is best suited to your needs or how to best configure your IP network, I can recommend contacting one of our authorized resellers. Milestone has several thousand resellers around the world, and you can find a complete list on our website, including the ones closest to you. Right, that's all I have for you in this video. Thank you for watching.